Monday, June 16th. Let's level up. Markets went out on Friday, kind of near the lows. Bit of a short squeeze today. I think people were worried about the war, and they went out maybe even flat or short. They had a cover and or chase today. We ran into some resistance. We basically filled up the pennant and then saw selling throughout the day. We were pulling back more in the after hours. President Trump had put out a truce telling people to evacuate Tehran. This is really just mimicking the call from the IDF telling people to leave Tehran. I think that they're going to probably take down the power grid or something along those lines. And you can see these huge exoduses coming out of Tehran. I know they moved the Nimitz carrier group there, and that could signal some escalation in tensions, although I think it's really just going to be used as a pressure tactic. As far as VIX goes, bulls have not been able to get price back below 17.02, and we've discussed before that that is the level that needs to crack for still higher prices, and that's probably one of the reasons markets were able to sell off into the close today. With regard to key levels, ES seems to be responding well off the 100 MA 30-minute, and the Qs, of course, off the 200 MA 30-minute. For me to say that the little decline here is arrested, bulls will need to get over 60 26 quarter to 60 33 half, really that's 60 33 half, and then 60 51 quarter. That 60 51 quarter was the high before the liquidation break on the news of the war. That is really what needs to clear. Anything below there to me is really just chop and noise with liquidation break potential. We are so far holding the 59.93 half to 6,008 area. That is the absolute must hold, or we could see a move back down, maybe even to the 5,900 area, believe it or not, with levels, of course, in between. The Qs need to clear 21,892.75 and hold, of course, I told you the 200 MA 30-minute. As of this video, it's 21,814 half. And by the way, the apples to apples, which we were talking about with the ES, is the 100 MA 30-minute is 6,000 quarter. They need to get over that 21,892.75 and then clear 21,948 to 21,977 quarter. Liquidation break could take you down to that 21,529.75 to 21,558 half area if we do see an end range move. With regard to SPY, really nice move today. They're still just within range chop. I think if you're long short term, you could use the 599.18 10 MA as a stop. But really, as long as the bulls can hold that 595.54, which was the high we saw on 519, and I guess with some fungibility to the 20 MA, which is currently 593.78, I think the risk is still sideways to higher. The all-time high is 613.23. I expect there to still be some selling in this 600 plus level, probably 610s and then into that 613. I don't think we're going to make a new high and sustain it. What I've told you I think is going to happen is we may make the new high, have a look above and fail, and then have some type of a pullback, maybe to the 585.10, which is of course the 78.6, but we're not into that mode just yet. As far as Qs go, I think you could use 10 MA also as a stop here, 530.30. Anything below there really could see the 20 MA at 524.20, and then that is my must-hold line. If that fails, there is the risk to the retest of the 78.6 at 511.19. On the upside, bulls need to clear the 536.88 to 540.81 all-time high. I do think it's possible we get that move up there. Could have a look above and fail, but we're just teetering under there, and the liquidation breaks have really not been that severe. Bitcoin, of course, being the ultimate risk-on, risk-off arbiter, still within this chop zone, really, between the 78.6 at 102,544 and the 100% retracement at 110,150. We have probed above the 110,150 and not been able to hold, so we have now a couple of look above and fails. If they can get over there and stay over there, we're looking at something into the 127,000 area probably for the channel high. If we continue to chop around in range, it is just chop as long as it remains. Gold saw a little bit of a pullback today. I told you we're in a responsive market, not an initiative one. They weren't able to clear the 317.63 and hold. Getting a pullback here, the 10 and 20 MA at 309.63 and 307.29 could be downside targets. I do think if we can clear and stay over the 317.63, there could be a move still higher, maybe to the 343.48. But we need to see that, and I do think they were digesting some of this move. Oil, I had told you I thought was going to be a sell on the news here. I told you anything below 75.28 was a stop out, and anything below anchor VWAP at 73.37, you could even try short. Bulls here in oil will need to get over 73.37, which is, of course, the anchor VWAP. On the downside, the 200 MA could offer up some support at 68.59. 50% fib is right there at 67.94, so that zone may find some short-term support. We may chop around here. I don't think they're going to give it up all right away. And to complicate things, this will make things harder for the Fed because we have been seeing inflation come down. Energy prices going higher are inflationary, and that may push the Fed rate cut out further. We're not really seeing that reflected that much just yet in terms of the Fed probability for September. It still seems like it's a bit of a go. It's basically 2/3, 1/3 at the moment, but that number will probably change after Powell's presser on Wednesday, which I'll be covering for you live. If you're not already subscribed or know people who aren't subscribed, have them hit the subscribe button, and then they'll be able to participate with my Fed analysis. Nvidia is still chopping around. It seems like that's going to make a run at the highs. As long as it's over the 528 earnings day high of day at 143.17, it's still higher prices. I don't really get too bearish on that until it loses the 138.90 to 140 level. If that fails, we could retest the 133.25, but does seem strong at the moment. Tesla is still acting fairly well. They have the robo-taxi event. I think as long as the bulls hold 319.03 to 325.10, it's fine. If you want to use low of day at 326.41 as a stop, I'm fine with that too. Bulls here will need to clear and hold the 20 MA at 332.95, but we do have the robo-taxi event, I believe, on the 22nd, and that should offer up some support in the short term, at least for the stock. It may be a sell the news after that, but my guess is that they hold it strong at least into the couple of days leading into that event. Apple's still acting choppy. We're probably going to be in range for a while. It seems 189s are on the downside and the 214s are on the upside. If you want to do some type of a strangle, maybe if we get a high IV pop on a bad Fed, maybe if we get a 25 VIX, you could sell some out of the money calls, out of the money puts, and make some money on that because I do think it's going to be choppy for a bit. The buyback probably keeps it healthy. And then, of course, we have the iPhone event coming in September. They do have another quarter coming up, and they report, I believe, on 7/31. Any weakness on that, I'll be looking to buy for the iPhone event. Netflix has been super bullish. It is still holding the channel high. It's caught here between the 10 and 20 MA. I think if you're long, you could use the 12, 11, 65, 20 MA now as a stop. The target we've been looking for is 1305.48, but we are close enough that I would be trimming into pops. Amazon usually has Prime Day, mid-July. I've told you I think that'll be strong into that. As long as we're above 211.52, it's fine. I do see some resistance here in this 217s to 214.84 level. Anything over 214.84, by the way, is still bullish. I think it could get 219.97, and I'm bowling for 225.16, which is the 78.6 of the range, probably at or before the Prime Day. I'll be looking to book into that if we get it soon. Google acting well. It pulled back. We didn't even get the 20 MA, and it's already back up. Anything over the 173.79, 50% fib, keeps 61.8 in play at 181.64. That area has been met with some sellers, and I still like trimming into there. Ultimately, I do think that this will get back up to the old all-time highs. It just may take some time. It has a little bit of overhang with those regulatory situations and lawsuits. JP Morgan was pretty strong today. A little bit of a potential breakout there. If it can stay up over and hold 269.52, the 280.25 area is in play. If it can't hold the 269.52, we could see a rotation back to the 263.54 low end of the range. So there's either a right or right out long here or a right or right out short. TLT still pulling back. 50 MA there has been the resistance. 86.92 it needs to clear. I guess people don't like the idea of oil being high. Maybe the Fed stays higher for longer, but the bulls don't get into too much trouble as long as 84.89 can hold. We do seem to be consolidating here. Maybe we'll get some resolution after the Fed day on Wednesday. Generally speaking, markets are up into highs. In a vacuum of earnings, we are going on headlines, particularly with a war raging here. We have the Fed on Wednesday. It wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit of a buyer strike or just some chop going into that. Usually what I like to do is take the Fed day range, be long above it, short below it, neutral inside. If you want to trade intra-Fed day range, use the VWAP, long above, short below. Sometimes we need the Fed day +1. We'll see a reaction on the Fed day, either a big move down and then it reverses completely the next day, and the opposite where we're up and then it comes down the next day. So often I like to wait a day after to see if there's some follow-on the upside, because sometimes there is, or if we get the reversal, and then usually we'll go in the direction of the reversal. Like and follow for more.